Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Just a very quick video. I just wanted to, this is completely, won't have been expecting this. I will be on live later talking about some British things that are going on, but I had to come on and tell you about this. To talk about December of Justice, we've seen a lot of verdicts, guilty verdicts, good sentences for a lot of the cases that we've been covering. And this is another one, the Delphi murders, of course, the murders of Abbi and Libby while they were on a trail in Delphi, Indiana, in America. And Richard Allen was the bridge guy. He was found guilty couple of weeks ago, wasn't he, for this crime, the murder of these two girls. He slit their throats. Anyway, I'm not going to go over the whole case. I just wanted to let you know the sentencing. And it's a good one. You can always rely on America to give you a good sentencing once someone's been found guilty. So here we go. We're going to have a look. Hey. Stop.
Breaking news. A sentence in the Delphi murders trial has just been handed down to Richard Allen. He has been sentenced to 130 years. We have a full team on the scene in Delphi.
130 years. Now that's what you call a sentence, isn't it?
We'll start with Bob C.
Oh, the sound's gone.
Bob, 130 years you're hearing. Tell us more, please.
Felicia, I was inside the courtroom.
Now, I just want to say this whole trial has been secret. We've not seen any of the trial or like even the verdict, the sentencing. At the end, the judge made it all secretive. So we've had to rely on what reporters have been telling us. And we've when we were watching the actual court case, we were watching this WTHR. We were watching that quite a lot, and we've seen this guy quite often. He got quite invested in the case. He got quite emotional when the the verdicts were called, etc. But yeah, nobody, even now, the judge is making it all very secretive.
Sitting right behind Richard Allen when the sentence was handed down by Judge Frances Gall. The judge said that, in her words, she said to Richard Allen, "You rank right up there with the most hideous crimes that she has presided over in her 27 years as she's been presiding over criminal cases here in Indiana. For that reason, she sentenced Richard Allen to the maximum amount of time in prison that she could. Like you said, 130 years, 65 years for the murder of Abbi Williams, 65 years for the murder of Libby German." She also told the court this morning that there was an extraordinary impact on the families of the two girls. She said it was a generational impact. That is actually a term that was coined by Libby's grandmother in speaking to the judge and in speaking to the courtroom, saying the impact of these murders is going to last.
We've got Spicy. I respect what you're saying. I know a lot of people agree with you. But Richard Allen was found guilty. He is as guilty as the hell he's going to. And, I'm not going to go over all the things that people say, no DNA, no this, no that. There was loads of evidence against Richard Allen. He's 100% guilty. That's why he was found guilty. And this is just desserts for the family. The family deserved the verdict, and they deserve the sentencing. And I haven't got any qualms whatsoever that Richard Allen deserves this sentence.
Last for generations, not only for their family, but also for this community here in Carroll County. Judge Frances Gall said these families will deal with your carnage forever, as she looked directly at Richard Allen. At that point, she said, "You sit there and continue to just roll your eyes at me And it was moments after that she announced the maximum sentence that she can impose. Now,
good for her. Good for her. The thing is, this guy confessed, what was it, over 60 times or something ridiculous. He's as guilty as hell. The judge knows it. The jury knew it. That's why they found him guilty. There were things that came out in that courtroom that we don't even know about because it was secret. He admitted it himself more than one occasion, many occasions. He was there. He was bridge guy. He was there. His bullet was there. There was so much evidence. He was. Do you know what? This guy, he should count himself lucky that it took them so long to find him and convict him, because really he's got his 130 years now that he deserves every minute of it. But he had quite a few years that he got to lead a normal life that he shouldn't have had. So justice, I'm so grateful to this judge.
Should point out there were actually 4 murder charges against Richard Allen,
okay.
2 for the murders of Abbi, 2 for the murders of Libby. Under Indiana state law, an individual can only be sentenced for murdering an individual once. So therefore, counts 1 and 2, those were dismissed by the judge. Counts 3 and 4, again, a count each of murder against Abbi, and the murder of Libby. Those are what the judge ended up sentencing Allen for here this morning. He will now be assigned a public defender. The prosecutor, Nick McLeland, asked the judge to seal the autopsy photos and the crime scene photos moving forward. And those photos were a big part of this morning's hearing. The families of Abbi and Libby really lashed out against the defense team, saying that they allowed, through recklessness, for those photos to be leaked online, causing tremendous harm to the families moving forward. And they asked the judge to really take that into consideration as well. The judge was able to take some mitigating factors into consideration when.
There's no mitigating factors. What mitigating factors are there that this man murdered 2 young girls? And do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there's more comes out about this guy. I've got a feeling that he may have done similar things before. He is guilty. Well, it looks cold there. It's snowing. But anyway, so yeah, we've definitely got December of justice.
And she handed down the sentences. She said that she would take into consideration that Richard Allen has no previous criminal history, but she said based on the heinous nature of the crimes, she did not give that a lot of weight. She did not give any weight to the circumstances involving what the defense had asked the judge to consider, his previous military service, and putting him behind bars would cause a hardship on his family and on Richard Allen's wife. The judge said any time that someone is put behind bars, that is a hardship.
What hardship? Hardship on his wife? How dare they? How dare they? Hardship on his wife. She's in denial, his wife. She just can't accept what he did. He was trying to confess to her. She was saying, no, shut up. She hardship on his wife. Sorry, but it comes a point when you know your husband has done something like this. His daughter couldn't even look at him. He did it, and it's good that he's got 130 years. At least he'll never be able to do it again.
To the family, so she would not take that into consideration. She did say simply the horrific nature of the crimes really played a big impact in her decision to give the maximum 130 years. Now, before the judge announced her sentence, we did get to hear from family members of the victims. We heard from Carrie Timmons, that is Libby's mother. She said that this has been absolute hell for Abbi and Libby's families and friends over the last 8 years. She said she was left with a literal hole in my soul. She said she still struggles daily with guilt and anxiety. And she said, and I'll quote here, "I'll never understand how you were able to get away with this for so long, speaking
Yeah.
directly to Richard Allen. The grandparents of both Abbi and Libby also spoke to the court, at times speaking directly to Richard Allen. They said that they cannot forgive him at this point, that they hope in the future they'll be able to find that forgiveness. But right now they still sit with a tremendous amount of pain that they say will never go away. We will certainly have much more about what was said in court, about very powerful impact statements. We are expecting perhaps for the families to come out and speak with the media. We know that Indiana State Police are going to speak with the media. We expect the prosecution team to speak to the media now that Judge Francis Gall has lifted what has been a gag order for more than a year. At the very end of the hearing this morning, she said that she was officially lifting that gag order, which means now that we can hear from the parties in the case, the prosecution, the defense, the families who have not been able to speak to us throughout the course.
Oh, that's interesting because, yeah, there's been a gag order, hasn't there, on this case, so nobody's been able to talk about it. This is part of the reason, I think, where people are, you know, there are people who still believe he's innocent because they haven't heard the full story. Nobody's heard the full story except the people that were in the courtroom, and the jury found him guilty very quickly as well. So, yeah, you know, he is 100% guilty. But these kind of things, they'll all come out over the next few days, I imagine. So there will be more about this case. But I'm glad for the family. This is all sorted before Christmas. This is not their first Christmas that they're facing without Libby and Abbi, because they've faced a lot of Christmases now without them. But this is the first Christmas that they can face, knowing that the person that did it will not ever be able to do it to anybody else again.
Of this trial, and really for more than a year now leading up to the trial. So again, we will bring you the statements that we hear from all the parties involved, and we will have more about what happened in the courtroom coming up at noon and throughout the day here on 13 News. Felicia.
But we have just a few more questions before you go. What was the reaction in the courtroom when this sentence was handed down?
Certainly not any reaction of surprise at all. The families did ask for Judge Gall to impose the maximum sentence, which is exactly what she did. I think a lot of legal observers and those of us who have been following this case all along expected that maximum sentence to be handed down. There was no reaction whatsoever from Richard Allen or from the defense team. The defense team, Felicia, didn't really say anything. They submitted a memo a couple days ago. They told the judge, we're going to let that memo speak for itself. And in that memo, they said, we're not really going to spend a lot of time trying to convince you to limit the sentence, because at this point, the defense team is putting their stock in the appeals process. They say we are going to appeal, and at appeal, we expect that we will get a fair appeal.
Yeah, another thing to remember is they are appealing, you know, not against the sentence, against the actual verdict. So we have to see what happens in that, but I honestly don't think it will make any difference, because there was, you know, as much as people don't like to see it for whatever reason, I have no idea why people stick up for Richard Allen when, you know, just seems beyond me. But anyway, they do. So, and everyone's entitled to their view, but I can't see that the appeal's going anywhere.
They've accused throughout the trial the judge of not being impartial, and they believe that they may have a better chance to be able to get all of this reversed once the case does go to the Indiana Court of Appeals.
Okay, we did know yesterday that they did not plan to speak. They did not plan to offer any words. Have there been any signs of remorse from Richard Allen throughout this process? You've been in the courtroom since day one.
So it's a good question, Felicia, because, you know, we heard during the trial that Richard Allen, in speaking with the psychologist at the prison, and in some of the things that he wrote to the warden and said to some of the guards and other inmates in prison, according to statements that he made, confessions, he wanted to apologize to the family. So far, there has been no apology. And in fact, Richard Allen and his defense team maintain that he is innocent, that he did not commit these crimes. And despite more than 60 incriminating statements that he made behind bars, they say those statements were coerced. They say that he was suffering from psychosis at the time that he made those statements and that he did not commit these crimes. Of course, a jury determined otherwise, and they believed the state's position that Richard Allen was thinking clearly when he made all of those statements. So whether those statements should have even been admitted at all and presented to the jury, that's one of the issues that we expect Richard Allen's defense team will bring up on appeal.
Heard about what a timeline for an appeal could look like.
Well, essentially, that appeal could be filed later on this afternoon if a defense team wanted to do that. But in court today, after she told Richard Allen that he was being sentenced to 130 years in prison, she asked if he wanted the judge to appoint public defenders for his appeal. He responded that he did. Traditionally, it would not be the same attorneys representing a client on appeal as during the trial. We suspect there might be the possibility that Richard Allen would want the same attorneys to represent him before the Court of Appeals. That would be somewhat unusual, but it is at least a possibility. We will wait to see who might be appointed and whether or not there might be the same attorneys. I do not think that that is something that Judge Francis Gall would choose for Richard Allen to have the same attorneys, but that decision will not be made by her.
Okay. And then you mentioned that the gag order has been lifted. Do you anticipate hearing from any other folks who have participated in this trial that we haven't necessarily heard from before? Any signs that the jury, members of the jury could speak, or that we could have any witnesses come out with more details? Any speculation on that?
I don't have speculation on that. Now that the gag order is lifted, it opens the possibility that we could hear from any of the players involved. Law enforcement, there was only one witness who spoke today, and that was Jerry Holman, who is a lead investigator for Indiana State Police. He had some very strong statements that we heard as he took the stand today. He said that law enforcement put their hearts and souls into this case. And he said, I believe that Richard Allen is a danger to society because he has a lack of remorse, and that he used, in Jerry Holman's words, Richard Allen used religion to manipulate the people in his life as it pertained to this case. So we expect we're going to hear quite a bit from law enforcement here over the course of the next hour or two now that they are allowed to speak. In fact, they're going to have a press conference here that should be starting in just a little while. As far as
oh my God, there's so much going on at the moment. So I am on again later talking about some British sort of things that have happened, court cases. What's going on in December just before Christmas that all these things are happening? But yeah, there'll be a press conference from the police. Now that the judge has lifted the gag order, there'll be a lot of things coming out. But we'll just listen to the end of this and then I've got to go, but I will be back later.
As other players, as far as Richard Allen's family, by the way, his wife and mother who have been here throughout the entire trial, they were not in court today. And we know that in speaking with the defense attorneys, that's not because they didn't want to be here to support him, but because Richard Allen asked for his family not to be here for the sentencing today. So whether or not we could hear from Richard Allen's families, whether or not the families of Abbi and Libby are going to speak out, we don't know for sure, but we expect that they're going to, and we should.
That's interesting. So Richard Allen asked for his family not to be there.
Point out that as part of their victim impact statements today, they spoke over and over again about their appreciation and gratitude to law enforcement, to the prosecutor and to the prosecution team, to the entire community for their love and support that they've received throughout this entire process. I anticipate they may want to reiterate those statements again directly to the community and to the people who they are so grateful for their help. So speaking publicly and on camera would give them a chance to do that later today.
Okay, Bob Siegel, we know that you just got this information and you brought it to us as soon as possible. We know that there's still an active scene to kind of work and kind of get the lay of the land. We appreciate you standing out in the cold and the snow to bring us this information. Bob Siegel reporting live in Carroll County Courthouse in Delphi. We will check back in. We know we have rest of our team members also out there.
Yeah, it looks cold, doesn't it there? So there you go. That's the break. That literally is breaking news. He's been sentenced to 130 years. There's much more to come out because now the gagging order's off. There'll be a lot of things that will come out over the next couple of hours. Anyway, I'm going to be back in about 45 minutes or so. As I say, I've got lots of other things to talk about from some British cases that we've been following some developments. That's what I'm scheduled to talk about tonight. But it just seems to be news after news with the cases that we've been following. So I wanted to let you know about this. Some people will be glad about it. Other people, maybe like people that were on earlier, are not so glad about it. So a lot of people still think he's innocent. I literally do not understand that. But anyway, everyone's entitled to their view. But for me, I just feel satisfied that Abbi and Libby's families have got this sort of justice, won't bring them back, but that must feel good. 130 years. It's good. Anyway, I'll see you all later, hopefully. Thanks for watching. I won't be long. And until I see you in literally about an hour or so, may your God go with you.